Hey, we're live. How's everybody doing tonight, guys? I decided I was going to go live tonight. I was going to take a break tonight, but I decided, there's nothing really good on Netflix. Same stuff all over again. Um, so here I am. I'm live. And we're going to wait a few minutes because I want to wait until my wife gets back to settle in so she's not constantly walking back with my camera, that kind of thing. Because, like I said, we've got a really spooky session for you tonight to kind of start off. More or less. Mind these for a minute, guys. Go. Oh, sorry. We get 20. Sure, just got that in on time there, guys. Shortly, I'll hit that other light. Shh, guys, I'm live. Man, somebody's hyper tonight. Definitely. I am live.
Nice.
I'll just let you know before I shut off the kitchen light. Get settled in. May get spooky.
Come on, Hyperness. Never mind messing up Daddy's couch.
Hey, sweetie. So before
Here we go.
I didn't want to hear that live. That irritated my ears. So before we guys go live, we're already live. We just wanted to put in the margin, and what I'm about to tell you tonight, guys, will give you kind of what they call food for thoughts. And definitely. Now, there's a lot of what you call a lot of history behind Halloween. Goes way back 1,800 years ago. To the first Samhain or to the first founding of Halloween. When Samhain became Halloween. The first year when it was founded, it was called Samhain. The second year after the first founding year, it was definitely officially called Halloween. All Hallows Eve, all Hallows Evening, or whatever you want to call it, which is called today Halloween. The stuff that you're used to today, the celebrations you're used to today, like the big parties, or this year, no, there's no parties. All the big parties have been canceled due to the social gathering, that kind of stuff, to control the social gatherings and that kind of stuff like that for the physical distancing, and so it doesn't cause big, large crowds and that kind of stuff like that. And even the trick or treating, yes, is canceled this year. But it's not saying that you cannot celebrate at home with your own families. Go to the store, buy your kids a bag of candy, and have a candy hunt at home, or watch scary movies on TV, and that kind of stuff like that. or do what I do. Just doll your living by the stuff, doll your living room up, and put on a nice haunted house show. Just with all the people you live with in your household, just people you live with in your household, um, and you celebrate by staying at home in your own home. You don't necessarily have to go out. Um, we are going to get into. Um, we're going to take you back in time a bit, to the way things were on the first Halloween. Before the parties became a tradition, before the candies even became a tradition, um, that kind of stuff like that. Halloween is Halloween. Same with Devil's Night. Devil's Night is Devil's Night is Devil's Night. Um, and Halloween is Halloween. Uh, it comes no matter what you do. Um, it is like Christmas. It is, well, different, but um, you know, uh, Halloween, when it was first founded, there was never no such thing as parties. There was no such thing as candy. Those traditions came in later. The parades came in later. That kind of stuff like that. Um, Halloween was totally different, and 2020 marks the 1800 year. And the reason why 2020 marks the 1800 year, um, 1800 years ago from today, way before any of us was born or on this earth, um, when Halloween first started, um, people hid in their homes. Um, they chose to do that on their own. Um, it was a superstition, because there was when the witching hour hit, after dark, people chose to stay in their homes. They didn't have to have the royal kingdom government to tell them, like the king and queen, to tell them to stay in their homes. They just did it on their own, to protect their families, because in that era, that was the era when the hills ran red with blood. When the witching hour first started, um, and haunted, and they discovered that there was witches among them, actual, authentic, powerful witches, um, that had the ability, to cast their spells. It was a night so they can cast their spells, a night that they can perform their witchcraft, everything else like that. All the cults came out. Um, so inside their homes, to entertain their own children, just to prevent them from peeking out the windows even. They didn't have fancy homes like we have today. They had like log built cabins with rope they made, or they made their own cement glue to cement their own stones together, or they found big stones and they made homes out of them. It was a village, and they had ways of telling inside their homes. They would barricade their doors. So by doing that, they were avoiding all the witchery and the witchcraft that was going on outside. Even when the dead started rising, and the apocalypse, if they call it, or zombie apocalypse, was attacking or whatever, they used to board up their homes. They board up their windows, or whatever board. They didn't have glass like we have today. They had like they had, it was all wood all the way through, and they had the wood shutters, and there was like little holes through the little where the glass is supposed to be, or they had like little. Um, they made it with straw, grass, something like that, or horse's hay. Um, they used to do stuff like that, and inside the homes they would board out the outside, they board out the inside, and inside their homes they sit around their little real fireplaces, stone fireplaces with logs, and they would tell ghost stories, gypsy tales. They would make up their own games for the kids to play, and they play games. They literally play games. That was their way of celebrating Halloween, from avoiding what was going on outside. So they didn't have, like we have today, a government telling you to stay home. Back those days, they were smart enough to stay home, and the ones that was not smart enough to stay inside became victimized of the witchcraft that was going on outside. They became victimized of the cults, that kind of stuff like that, and they paid a terrible price. They were abducted by witches. They were murdered by their spells, everything else like that. There was a lot of things that went on in those times. That was the early what you call early days of Halloween times, according to Celtic history. There was a lot. There was a lot of spookiness. It was a night of spiritual manifestations, aberrations. That happened. That was uncontrollable. Even the old king's guards couldn't keep nothing under control, according to those times. The king's royal guards couldn't keep nothing under control. And definitely witches today that would identify to being our police officers. If you look at our police officers, back those days, they wouldn't be called police officers. They were called the king's personal royal guards, or concierge, they used to call them, and that kind of stuff back those days. Before it went into before King James took the throne and started the witch trials and that kind of stuff like that. And on the first Samhain on Halloween, it was a full moon, like we're about to have this Halloween. And the second Halloween was a new blood moon, where the moon ran totally as color as red blood, as red as my bandana, because the sacrifices the witches did. And then prior after that is when all the witch trials started, and then after the witch trials, the third Halloween. Again, this in reality, according to history, did really happen, but it's not happening the way. Didn't happen the way you see in Disney movies like Hocus Pocus, but the actual true history of a virgin lighting a wick candle and brought witches back on the third Halloween did actually really happen. And again, on the third Halloween, there was a full moon, indefinitely. So this Halloween represents goes back to the first Halloween. It goes back 1,800 years ago. So it's been 1,800 years since Halloween has been around. So it's been around it's way older than me or you, indefinitely. There's a little bit of spooky historical history there for you guys, based on what they call true legend. Now I'm gonna hit that other light, indefinitely, and so we're in spooky legends here in Haunted Hunter's Cabin, and to see the way around things. They didn't have. Nothing was digital. It was all candlelight on the hand held candles in a horseshoe made tray made by the blacksmith. Lanterns made by the blacksmith, and then inside the lantern was a real wick and candle. A lot of spiritual things happened back those days, and that's what it proved to us, that the spiritual world, or the paranormal, the supernatural world, does really exist, amongst us, and it's proven its power, that people have had, from generations to generations, right into this generations today, could experience what happened on the first Halloween, on the first and second Halloween, when it was first founded, and the third one, in general. Also, too, with us being in what you call nowadays in 2020, being in COVID-19 pandemic, and they believe that Halloween is not safe, so they canceled. All they could do is just cancel like big parties to stop, large gatherings. Cancel trick-or-treating for the kids so it doesn't create a big large gathering, to keep people safe, more or less, so it doesn't cause the spread of COVID-19 that they're worried about, which is a real virus, yes, but on top of that virus there is attachments, there is connections, there is what they call, that virus is like the internet, there is links. It's not just a virus that they talk about. Yes, the virus is a real virus. I don't want anybody to go around saying, "Oh, the virus doesn't exist." Yes, the virus does exist. But on top of that virus, during COVID, during the COVID itself, or during that COVID virus itself, there is other attachments to it. People have seen strange things. They've seen strangers, spiritually. I don't mean physically, physically and spiritually. The people that appear and disappear. They believe that they're magical, or ritually connected. They believe that that there's been alien sightings, or they witness alien sightings, or they believe that there's been apparitions, that they've more so during COVID. So there's more to COVID itself than just the virus that's killing people. Just the virus alone, yes, has killed a lot of people. But on top of the virus itself, there's other things that has happened, that we've seen in our medias. Outburst of violent protesting, people buying up, cleaning out Walmart of its toilet paper. Big panic buy on that. Believing that the world is ending, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of people that go into many of those different panics, and that kind of stuff. That churches being persecuted for their faith, churches being shut down, churches refusing to comply to the COVID-19 restriction laws and that kind of stuff. That more so the Pentecostal ones and the big charismatic ones that draws like thousands of people. I'm not going to mention no names, but there was just a minister from Nashville, Tennessee, that was just on Facebook, and he did a Facebook live social media. I don't know if anybody's seen it, stating that his church is going to refuse to comply to social distancing, that he's going to continue to pack his church, if the American government likes it or not. He is going to break those rules. That's his own. I guess that's his own specific choice. Now, if I was a church minister, that's something I would not go around doing. Definitely, because the fact that the virus is real, and then that the fact he's not going to make his congregation wear face masks or coverings, and definitely he was very vocal about that. I was shocked at it. I couldn't help laughing at him, because it was just the way I look at him. He's just an idiot, because he's going up against a law and authority, that that yes, we're in times. It goes to show you that we're in times that Christianity is going to be persecuted, indefinitely. They're going to be persecuted because of their gatherings, or they're choosing not to comply by the rules and regulations, or they're going to push the religion. Or there's going to be an anti-power among us in the world, indefinitely. That yes, that Christianity is going to be persecuted, and Christians across the world, not just in the Middle East, but here in Canada and even probably in the U.S., that the Christian community is going to be violated or stripped of their rights. And definitely. It was predicted that these times were coming, and these are what they call revolution, or what they call revelation times, because also too that they also believe that now for the type of group I am, I usually don't like to mention this, but they believe that there's going to be a second coming, or there's going to be a return of Christ, that there's going to be a rapture of Christians only. They believe that everybody's going to disappear in thin air, type thing, and there's going to be a 7-year tribulation, and there's going to be a religious war, indefinitely. And the ones that are left behind for the religious war would be the non-Christians, and the Christians will get raptured and go to heaven for 7-year tribulation. They also believe that they're among us for the non-believers, and they've been predicting this for 250 years, and a lot of people are believing it to be a lie. That there is going to be, that Satan himself is going to come up out of the earth, and he will convince the world that he is God, and he's going to be able to heal the sick, perform fake miracles, and he's going to be, and those people that denounce their faith in Christianity will follow this man or woman, and he or she is going to be revealed by God as being the Antichrist. There is a lot of theories on this. Totally. A lot of things that they've been saying for 250 years that was supposed to happen in 2012, and it never happened because one of their ministers predicted it, and hey, we're all still here. Even they are. Gee, what's wrong with that picture? Definitely. How do you believe something that they've been rambling on for 250 years, and it's been nothing but a lie and deceivement, and definitely, and perjury, and a big money grab on top of that, from its congregations. But yeah, I'm not going to get too much detail into that, indefinitely. But yeah, some of it, yes, I can believe it's going to happen, but it is not going to happen in the way that these Christians are telling you it's going to happen. It can happen totally differently, itself. In a different format or a different order. Basically, what they're sharing with you more or less is their premonition. And what a premonition is when they visualize something's going to happen a certain way. And then after they come through the premonition, nothing happens at that point, and then 5 seconds later, what they premonition happens. but doesn't happen the same way, in the same order that the premonition or vision did. Whatever showed them the vision. If it happens in a different format, or it takes another course, and happens 5 seconds later, and actually does happen, but in a different way, not the way they described their premonition. They believe, visions for the young, dreams for the old, something like that. At least they're not going around doing the Stephen King religious quote, "He who walks behind the rose." Definitely, that'll get you kicked out of any church. Definitely. Heath. If you, in the movie or in the novel of Stephen King, they put it in Puritan English, was "he who walks behind the rose." In the actual cult, it is an actual prayer quote itself, or what you call, if you want to call it a prediction, but it is in the King James Latin of it all, of "Heath, who walks behind thy rose," indefinitely. Shall perish, or thou shalt perish, or thou shalt die. Or meet thou fate, or thou throat should be thou slashed. That's the actual, again, which language? And the King James version. I know I grew up on the King James version. And that is actually in the book of Malachi and Isaac. Talks a lot about that. Definitely. But we will not go there. So basically, you guys have an idea about where Stephen King gets his kind of religious quotes from for Children of the Corn. And definitely. Which actually refers to a demon within the cornfield that rose from the earth, and because the children were chosen by this demon to run a satanic cult out in the cornfield, and he used to sacrifice adults, human sacrifice actual adults, and it told them to actually sacrifice to parents, and that kind of stuff like that. Those cults, it is based on reality. It's based on true cults that are actually existing out there, indefinitely. But it shows you how deep religion can actually take you. Definitely, no matter if it takes you into a witch coven, no matter if it takes you into vampire covens. Indefinitely, or into Wiccan, or into the Illuminati itself. There's a little bit of a history there for you guys, totally. So yeah, going back to the Dark Ages and that kind of stuff like that. So basically, my point is, guys, yes, in today's day and age, they're just basically traditions that were invented for Halloween, to make it a fun night. But traditionally, those traditions is not the real Halloween. Those traditions were brought forth to keep the older generation from causing trouble. So by having parties and that kind of stuff like that, and have the trick-or-treating tradition for the kids, that kind of stuff like that. had different meanings, and it kept the older ones away from terrorizing people on Halloween night. Like it talks about back in the 1930s. Definitely. And the Halloween costumes only protected you from, guarded you from spirits. So if you dressed it up as your favorite spirit or your favorite monster villain, the monsters of those apparitions could not harm you. It was a shield protection, and that kind of stuff that people used to believe a long time ago, or the tradition of those. Definitely. But today our governments all they're doing is just canceling, trick-or-treating from going, keeping people safe, trick-or-treating from going to door, or just an ancient tradition, going to door, asking for candy to keep people safe because of the COVID-19 spread, that kind of thing that we're going through today. That they can do. But the actual Halloween is with us no matter what. The candy, the parties, guys, is not the real Halloween. They're just festival activities and entertainment, luxuries and pleasure. The real Halloween approaches on the witching hour after dark on October 31st. When October 31st hits every year, and everything goes dark, and what they call the witching hour comes upon us. That is the real Halloween. So when the sun goes down until sunrise is the real Halloween, guys. It has nothing. The Halloween itself has really nothing to do with traditions that were introduced for entertainment, for pleasure, and for entertainment, and definitely, and to keep people out of trouble, and definitely. But no matter what, the real Devil's Night, the real Halloween, is with us when the sun goes down until the sun goes up, until sunrise. Is what they declare is the real All Hallows Eve, the real Halloween itself, or the real Samhain comes to life. Definitely. But like I said, there is, of course, we live in a day and age where we have technology, we have computers, we have TVs, we have satellite, we have cable. We've got Netflix. There's lots of stuff to watch on TV while being stuck at home. You can, with your own family, celebrate from your own living room. Play board games. Play pin the tail on the devil. That kind of stuff like that. Those kind of, those kind of what you call kind of ways to well-being while you're at home, staying safe. Go out, buy candy for your kids, and have your own witch hunt with just the people you live with in your own family, in your own household, and kids in your own household. That kind of stuff like that. Different way of celebrating. If you're into live social media like I am, film it on Facebook, on live social media. Celebrate from inside, celebrate from at home. If you got YouTube Live, Halloween is with us no matter what. No matter if it is big parties, the guy gets canceled or dances because of the social gathering, or because trick-or-treating gets canceled because of the social gathering, because of large gathering of kids, that kind of stuff like that. And kids, when they go trick-or-treating, they don't realize it, but they're in with other kids, and they're going to people's doors trick-or-treating, and they travel in large groups of 60 or 50 or 90 kids or more. Indefinitely. So Doug, our Premier of Ontario, would make a point at that. So no matter what some communities do, like making a slide, not all communities are going to do that. So to make it all fair, they have decided to cancel the the trick or treating activity in generally this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic, because they don't want anybody to get sick, or they're worried about the virus spreading, numbers going up, indefinitely. But I'm not going to get into the politics end of it. But I'm just basically sharing the history on how the first Halloween was. But traditionally, Halloween has really nothing to do with the candy. It really has nothing to do with the parties. They're just traditions that Celtics in the early days invented, while shutting themselves inside, to avoid the witches and their craft going on outside. The smart ones did. The ones that were not smart enough to do that, to take cover, paid a horrible price. Totally. Was victimized of their witchcraft, and things happened to them. Totally, things, dark, spiritual, magical things happened to them. They evil spells were cast on them. They were sacrificed. There was a lot of, on the first Halloween, there was a lot of bloodshed. Totally. Spooky stuff, guys? So, like I said, guys, there is, no matter what, all, like I said, we like today, the candy is just a tradition, guys. The trick-or-treating was always just a tradition. So was parties. And what it was to do was to keep people from terrorizing people's homes, toilet papering people's homes, attacking little old ladies, that kind of stuff like that, burning down houses, smashing in windows, stuff that people used to do back in the 30s. That's all the candy tradition was for, and the parties. So to make it to turn it into a fun night, to keep some of those kind of people out of trouble, indefinitely, because by having those traditions, they wouldn't cause trouble. The only way they would cause trouble is if those traditions were not there for them. That's how they would get even for not getting anything. That kind of get revenge. That's why I said Halloween has a very dark history. And before it became a fun night, it originally started as a very religious, spiritual, anti-religious, very spiritual cult of night. That's when all the cults used to come out, and they used to practice their witchcraft, everything else like that. The rituals, that kind of stuff like that. All the secret societies started forming, witch covens started forming. And from time after generation, or time after time, after the first Halloween, things started happening. They were able to raise the dead, everything like that. The dead would come, like the dead people wouldn't stay dead. They'd come out of their graves, everything else like that. There would be a real zombie apocalypse happened. A lot of spooky stuff happened. Apparitions, poltergeists started haunting people. People's dead loved ones started haunting them. All to do with the craft of Samhain itself. And that's why a lot of the village people that were smart, they chose to stay indoors and celebrate with their own families, to keep safe away from what was going on outside. Indefinitely. And they made up, and the tradition of making up Halloween games, telling ghost legends, having a feast, that kind of stuff like that of animals they hunted during the day. With the way they used to make their own wine or grog or whatever they used to call it for the adults. Or they'd find ways to entertain their families, their kids, in their own homes. Like I said, back those days, the government didn't have to tell them to stay home. The people, the village people, were superstitious enough. They did it on their own, definitely, because they knew what type of era they were in. They were in an era of witches and their witchcraft, and they knew how powerful it was, and that kind of thing like that. And they knew they were safer indoors. The non-smart ones were exposed to the evil magic. Was exposed to the witchcraft. Was exposed and were killed by witches. Either a cannibal eaten by witches or killed by witches, or the witches burned them in a stew, or the witches actually did stuff to them. They went what they call the witch's way. Definitely, they were the dumb and non-smart ones, and that weren't superstitious. Didn't believe in the paranormal. Didn't believe in the supernatural. And then over generations, religious secret societies, cults started forming over generations. And then now in this day and age, this is why we image, skeletons, pictures of vampires, pictures of commercialized stuff like Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th, Freddy Krueger, all those lovely horror characters you love, Chucky. These clowns were not around back in the Halloween days when it was first founded. According to history, neither were we. We're just going by with history we were taught growing up in school. By taking our Canadian history and American history too in high school, in public school, high school. It was taught in the 80s and 90s. If anybody that was like me that grew up in the 80s and 90s, if you had paid attention and listened, instead of snoozing behind the desk, or telling the teacher to go F himself or flipping him the bird when he's trying to teach you something, some good comes out of it. Totally. Some good comes out of it. Instead of insulting the teachers, or insulting the phys ed or, teacher or who is ever teaching, or whatever classes we were in the history, growing up. Now, I went to a city high school, guys. I went to a city public school and high school. So we had arrogant idiots. I'm not saying small towns don't have them either, but I'm just saying I grew up in a big city where, yes, we had thousands. We had a school full of thousands and thousands of 50. We had 1,050 arrogant idiots in one big high school. It's not like the early days where it was like, little country schoolhouse. I'll tell you, not today. Definitely. Boys on one side, girls on the other. Assholes in the middle. Sitting on the floor. We're in line to get the strap. If you were in line to get the strap, you would have to take a seat in the middle of the floor, on the floor, in line, and you couldn't sit on either side. It means that you're being punished. You were getting the strap, like it or lump it, because you pissed off the teacher. But if you were a girl, you were sitting on the girl's side. If you were a boy, you were sitting on the boy's side. You were fine. But if They put you both together in the middle of the floor. The teacher was about to give you the strap, and you were in line for that strap. It was like being in line for Tim Hortons coffee today. Definitely. But then it was more severe punishment because back those days you were in line not for a Tim Hortons coffee, you were in line for getting your backside strapped or your wrist strapped with a ruler. I heard some of these from people that are old enough to remember that. Definitely, that grew up in that generation. So there, guys, there's a little bit of where Halloween really, what it really examples, and definitely. So no matter what, like I said, no matter with or without the pleasure or entertainment, there's always ways to entertain yourself at home. You don't have to always go out to a big party. You don't always have to go out to door for candy, that kind of stuff like that. You have options today. You can even go to a local store, buy a bag of candy, and have, set up your own kind of piñata at home, let the kids break open a piñata and dive for the candy. That lives in your own household, like as a family entertainment thing amongst your own family, with your own family, with your own kids, that you live with, more or less in your household. Even though today the trick or treating is canceled, and that kind of stuff like that for this year's Halloween is different, and definitely there is ways to still celebrate from at home with your family that you live with in your own household, and that kind of stuff like that. That kind of stuff like that, and definitely get that way to get more TV cartoon time in, watching their favorite Disney Halloween shows on TV, that kind of stuff like that. That kind of stuff like that. And adults that are 18 and older, you can tune into my shows. Again, like I said, but like I always say, some things on here might be frightening to anybody under 18. Not saying people under 18 can't watch. Make sure you're supervised, though, with an adult. That ball just moved. Some of the sound effects that I use, and definitely, and I'm gonna have. I made up a new dummy stuffed person back there. I've got to make one more. Definitely. Tomorrow, I got to crack it on that other one. I do one a day type thing slowly. More or less. So my live streams are still going to go on because it's just me, myself, and I, and my wife and my dog that lives here, that lives under my roof, that lives in my own household. Yes, you're going to see me decorate the live stream with a bit of a candy bowl and that kind of stuff like that. But other than that, guys, for myself, because we don't get trick-or-treaters in this apartment building anyways, we never do, because they can't go to door. Usually have to go to the main outsides and that kind of stuff like that when they do operate it. But what I'm planning on doing, because there's kids that live in the building, because they're going to be a little down and out that they can't go out trick-or-treating. I talked to my wife that some of the candy that I buy for ourselves for the live stream, I'm going to share it with them, give it to their parents, and that way their parents can give it to them. Make them up a small bag or whatever. There's not too many that live in the building here, but and definitely that's what we're going to do for them, because they're going to be kind of down and out this year. With the government's decision, and telling people to stay home, and the fact that there's not that trick-or-treating is canceled all across Ontario. It's not just certain regions, it's all across Ontario. When Doug Ford says things are canceled, it is canceled. That doesn't mean specific areas, it means all over Ontario, all over Canada. it means the whole entire country, the whole entire province, the trick or treating shuts down, is canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It doesn't mean that they're going to allow one area to trick or treat, and the other areas they're going to cancel. They don't work that way. Government never works that way. When they announce that everything is canceled, that the trick or treating end of Halloween is canceled, and the big parties are canceled, they're canceled. That's it. It's not operating. Nobody is handing out candy. Definitely. There's no going to door. And definitely because the government has specifically got on and announced that is all canceled. That means all of Ontario is canceled. All the trick-or-treating activity for all of Ontario and all of Canada, across Canada, is canceled. Indefinitely. Even with the also by the CDC, which is also all around the world too. Not just Ontario, not just Canada. It is in the United States as well. Indefinitely, because it is a decision that all governments and worldwide governments have made. Our provincial government and our Canadian government and the American government and the World Health Organization or Association, the CDC, indefinitely has made those decisions as well. Same with our Parliament Hill. Definitely to keep people safe. And definitely so that way there's not a big widely spread and the virus growing again, which there is new cases here in Ontario too, that have been founded too. It doesn't get any higher and get any worse, or we end up what they call becoming an Italy issue, the way Italy started, or how bad Italy started. Definitely that we don't get to that point. So to keep people safe and that kind of stuff like that. So, but again, like I said, Halloween itself, the night of Halloween itself, comes on its own. That's what I said. The party traditions, the candy traditions, is really are just pleasure, entertainment, and traditions that people over time created, but really is not the real Halloween. The real Halloween is Halloween. It goes back to the history of Solomon, indefinitely, and what the night itself represents, spiritually, and that kind of stuff, and some close encounters that for decades people witness and have experienced, and the history and the legend behind it all, about the dead actually rising and that kind of stuff like that. When it came down to the early Celtic setting bonfires, in a fire pit, because they believed that there was evil spirits among us and that kind of stuff like that, to keep Satan out of the circle. And he had to go around the circle so he couldn't get caught in the corners. That was the real Halloween. That was the real Halloween. Was the spiritual, the occult religious end of it, the witchcraft end of it, was the real Halloween. They weren't even traditions and that kind of stuff like that. They were actual. That was the actual first Halloween, or the sacrifices that happened on the very first Halloween. Because of that, like I said, the dumb people that decide, all the rich and dumb people decide they were not gonna hide out from the witches. That kind of stuff like that. They thought they were all that in the head and thought, well, you know what, I can take them down. They learned an ugly lesson. Totally. But the smart ones went for cover, went indoors, and protected their families. And they chose to. They didn't have to have the palace king or queen tell them to go inside and to stay inside. They had smarts enough to take their family inside, and any animals they hunted during the day, um, they feasted with, um, and they invented games, and they made homemade fudge, chocolate, out of tree syrup and mud, um, that kind of stuff like that, and that's how the candy tradition really started, um, and definitely over generation, and they would share among themselves, their own family. And then on All Saints Day, which was the next day after the Passover of the witching hour, when it was safe to come out of their homes, they would share their homemade, what they call chocolate mud tree syrup candy, to their neighbors. Um, that's how that tradition started, and because of the soul cakes, being exchanged for prayers to pray people out of purgatory that came back from the dead as well during the witching hour of Solomon. And definitely that the witches brought back, and also too about the also time where a realistic, um, after the Halloween after the witch trials happened, an actual version of that was true, and definitely, that is the true part of the Hocus Pocus movie. But even though we know it is all based on fantasy, um, today, but it really did happen. It really did happen. It didn't happen in the way they projected it in the movie. It actually really happened, where a virgin actually lit the candle, and the witches came back from the real witches came back from the dead to haunt. Now, like I said, they weren't dumb and stupid like they were in Hocus Pocus, or they weren't retarded like they were in Hocus Pocus. They were actual came back as actual apparitions to haunt, and their chants, and they cast spells, and again, families chose to stay. Smart families chose to stay inside to entertain themselves, to stay away from what was going on outside, because they sensed and felt danger was coming spiritually, and they boarded themselves in. And the dumb ones, or what you call the Hocus Pocus idiots, that we would call them today, decide they're gonna be all that in the head, and again, they put themselves in very spiritual, sacrificial danger, where they were sacrificed to the witches' gods, and covens, and that kind of stuff like that, because the witches got a hold of them. Definitely. Because they didn't believe in the paranormal. They didn't believe in the supernatural. They didn't believe that all this was capable of happening. They learned according to history, learned a very painful lesson very quickly, if you want to put it that way. And then, like I said, over the years, so basically that kind of shares the history on how the candy tradition started, how the party started for entertainment, that kind of stuff, that developed over centuries and over time. And they were invented to keep people out of trouble too, as well. That kind of stuff. But today, because of the times we're in, because we're in COVID-19 times, and like I shared before, COVID-19 is more than just a virus. Okay, there is more to it than just a deathly virus. Like, yes, there is the deathly virus that is killing people. I'm not saying that there's no virus out there. Yes, there is a virus going around called COVID-19 or coronavirus. The virus is real, but on top of that, there's things that go on, repeatedly, history repeatedly repeats itself. So anything that happened on top of that virus, even things that happened during the Nazi era too, in World War II, is starting to happen all over again. Indefinitely. Cults are coming back out. Secret societies are recruiting. Things are happening. The purge is happening over again. Zombie apocalypse is happening again. Witchcraft is happening again. All this is coming out of the closet today. That happened ancient times ago. History is what you call repeating itself, especially with it being linked into COVID-19. That's why they say things today is not safe. This is why during the COVID-19 pandemic, they're canceling stuff to keep people safe. One, from the virus, from people getting sick and dying. Two, from Nazi activity, racist activity, the occult coming out, the witches era coming back, the zombie apocalypse, aliens invading Earth, is all COVID-19, guys. Is all your COVID-19. The paranormal, the supernatural. It is what they call Operation COVID-19, like Blue Project itself, that happened years ago with aliens and that kind of stuff like that, invading Earth, is all happening again. That's all COVID-19. Satanical, spiritual identities or apparition sightings, ghost hauntings, is all COVID-19. So on top of this deathly virus, that pandemic, well, in that, everything that's what happened over time, our history in our history books, is happening again today. More powerful than ever. It is getting stronger and stronger. And to prevent it from getting stronger and stronger, this is why the government tells you to stay home and stay 6 feet apart and stay safe indefinitely. Because there's also too, we're back in the times where Christians feel they're being persecuted. They're like the churches or the congregations are being separated because the churches are rebelling. They're not going to comply. A lot of churches, like I'm talking about, the big churches, not the small Baptist churches. Small Baptist churches have been doing good with the social distancing and that kind of stuff. It's the big Pentecostal churches don't give a shit. Definitely, because they're more focusing on leading people to salvation in these times. They're trying to recruit people into their church. They're trying to get people saved before what they believe the return of the King comes, to claim his people or to rapture his people. So they're going into what you call a big revolution or revival, spiritual warfare, where they believe so spiritually, very charismatically, very spiritual, being spiritually healed. Basically, they believe that they don't need to see a doctor, that kind of stuff like that. They're manipulating the congregation into believing that. They've been doing that for years. More so nowadays, they're flooding the altars. They're literally flooding their church altars with thousands of people or more. Definitely, they don't care about the social distancing. They don't care about masks on their faces. Nothing like that. Just like that one guy was getting on there and saying, I'm not giving them on a high pedestal or whatever on that. But yes, in a way, yes, the churches are breaking the law. But and the COVID-19 restrictions, and they don't care, because all they care about is leading people to the light, trying to get people saved before the purge happens, if it's going to happen again, or the zombie apocalypse happens again, or the witchcraft era happens again. and could happen stronger like it did 1,800 years ago. They believe, or before the Antichrist appears on the earth, to mark his people, and people that are left behind and are going to receive the mark of the beast, which is I'm just going to say it in politely, the 3 6s. We're not going to go the other way, indefinitely. There is what you call a revolution that is going to happen, that they believe is going to happen. Some signs of it you're starting to see today, and generally. It is a very scary thought to think about, totally. And with all this, and like also today, you see all this anti-protesting and everything else like that, violent protesting that's going on. They believe the times are ending, or we're in the last days, indefinitely. That there's definitely that their king is going to return and rapture everybody. That are of their culture or community. If you're not of their culture or community, or you're not in their Christian community or circle, you're not going to get raptured. You're going to be left behind for the Antichrist. When he or she is revealed, that means I'm going to have a whole lot of children that I wished I would not ever. I always wished I wanted, but now I don't want. No, just kidding. That's a sense of humor, guys, totally. But yeah, these are times, serious, like they say, very serious times. That we're coming into. Spiritually, Wiccans, psychics, are going to be more powerful than ever, than they always have been. They're gonna see things. Basically, they're gonna see things. They're gonna see stronger aberrations than they ever did before. The close encounters are going to get stronger than what I had at summer camp as a kid. Definitely are going to get a lot stronger, more powerful. The Illuminati, they believe, is going to come into order, and going to come into order in the government, and it's going to be a one world government. There's a lot of things that they believe. Instead of having, all these separate governments like your American government, with the White House, and your Canadian federal government, your municipality government, individual town or city government, or your Ontario provincial government, when the Illuminati takes its seat or takes office, it's going to be one big, huge worldwide government, one world government. So it's not going to matter what country you're from or what country you live in. You're going to be submitting to one government called the Illuminati, indefinitely, which is going to declare the all-seeing eye of God, which is your Freemasons, are going to take control of your world. They're going to recruit. They're going to re-recruit, and they're going to grow. Again, there's going to be another era where they're going to grow. I know they're starting to die out now, and they've been dying out for years. But in these times, they're going to grow a lot quicker. They believe they're going to have, all of a sudden, they're going to have an impact in growth, and drafts. They're going to come to order. They're going to come to power, and they're going to be a lot stronger than the way they did 150 years ago. They're going to be going back that way, indefinitely. and we will be under, we'll be in a computerized, or we'll be in what you call a computerized transformation, robotical, new world order. Anything to do with human transformation, no matter what it is, male to female, female to male, human to half human and half fish, to a mermaid, human DNA cloning, all this is going to take over our world. Computers, machineries are going to take over our world. Like today they were talking about starting January 1st. Everything is going to be all digital. Everything. All your personal ID is going to be digital. All your health card is going to be digital, online digital. It's your birth certificate will be digital. You're going to have what you call. You'll have to apply for digital labs like digital wallet. So all your birth certificate is going to be digital. Your social insurance card is going to be digital. Your driver's license is all going to be freaking digital. Everything is going to be computerized on a thumbprint. And definitely, and that's where the cloning. That is where the human cloning is going to come into play. Somewhere in that generation. So 2 to 4 years after this starts. If this starts in 2021, this digital stuff, by the end of 2021, when it's completed, I guarantee that by the time 2024 or 2025, we'll be in a human cloning era. It'll be legal, definitely, because we will have entered a new world order, indefinitely. Things like that once was illegal will no longer be illegal. It will be our new world. It'll be our new world society, and generally, everything is all going to be done by computers. Totally done by computers. Your TVs right now are digital with digital remote control. And we're going to come into a decade where even your showers are going to be digital. You press a button for the soap comes shooting out. The water, you press another button, boom, the water comes shooting out. It's going to be a smart shower, a smart digital shower. The toilets even to flush the toilet, all you're going to have to do is just press a button, boom, it'll flush. Or you tell it to flush, it'll flush your shit down. It's going to smart digital. Outhouses are going to be digital. None of this old school stuff, like a lot of people would grow up with. It'd be by a thumbprint. You want to go in to use the outhouse, you put your thumb on it, boom. It recognizes your thumbprint. Boom, the door opens. You go in and take a piss. You take a shit, and boom, you come out. Boom. Same with the toilet paper dispenser, thumbprint. The sink dispenser for the soap, thumbprint. To wash your hands, to turn the water on, thumbprint, or you tell it to turn the water on. It's all going to be voice automatic. TVs are going to be voice automatic. Cars will be flying in the air. We're coming to that generation. Things are changing, totally changing. They don't know if this is going to be for the good or for the worst. Definitely. Times, or even the TVs are going to be on voice command. You tell it what to do, it's going to do it. It's going to change the channels for you. That kind of stuff like that. Or there's going to come a generation that if you want to put your hand through the telephone to strangle somebody, you can do it, or through the computer. Same with your phones are going to be. It definitely is going to be voice automatic. You tell it always partially is like that with some cell phones, but with your actual home baseline phones, Your cordless phones, you won't have to press any buttons. You just tell the number you want it dialed, and it'll dial this person, dial that person. Your actual house phones will be doing it. Everything will be digital and technology controlled. Definitely. Your money is going to be digitally controlled. Everything. If you want to pay the taxi driver, you pay through your digital wallet, to his machine, that kind of stuff. That by a thumbprint or a code, that kind of stuff like that. Um, you pay for a coffee at Tim Hortons. Everything's going to be digital. They believe is going to be all your money. Everything's going to be cashless society. It's all going to be digital. No more scanning credit cards. Everything is actually going to go digital. Means you're going to have, everything is, it won't be like going to the bank and getting your money out, or leaving. Like already, our money we leave in the bank to pay our rent and that every month. But and life insurance, but to take excess cash out to go grocery shopping or whatever, or to go shopping. No, that'll be all digital. You won't even have paper cash. It'll all be digital. It'll be computerized. Definitely. These are the times. These are the times we're coming into, and these are what they call what the new generation is going to be looking like in the near future. That kind of stuff like that. I know this is a little off the ghost story, but legend. But yeah, that, again, like I said about going back to the early times of the Dark Witches, like that's where the real Halloween originates from. Definitely, the candy and parties were traditions to keep people out of trouble and to for pleasure and entertainment, that kind of stuff like that, to entertain. End of it. Sitting back, listening, that kind of thing. But I'm going to continue to do what I do every Halloween, is come live on here, just me, myself. My wife, like sitting in the back room watching TV. I run the haunted house out here on live. Social media every year, dog, the living room, that kind of stuff like that. Like I said, these people back here are just stuff. They're not real. And definitely to scare you guys with that kind of stuff like that. So, and I'm live from at home. And from my own front living room, staying home, staying safe. But yeah, so just sharing a little bit of what a little bit of history. Also do a bit what we're going through and history and where Halloween originates from, why it originates, and why Halloween exists and why it does. A lot of people have forgot about what really Halloween was really about, and definitely, and that kind of stuff like that. But maybe this year, while they're all at home and in their front living room watching scary movies, and entertaining their families, like they used to do on the first Halloween, and picturing while you're doing that, picture what it would be like if you were the smart people hiding indoors from a coven of witches. that were casting spells and it was going to sacrifice you to their gods, or to slice you in half, or cook you for dinner. And you were the smart people that stayed indoors to protect your family. Don't think about the dumb ones among you who would be the dumb ones that would go out and get sacrificed and sliced in half, and become their dinner, and be sacrificed to their gods or bloodshed. Really think about, if you're thinking back to what the first Halloween, what it would be like, picturing yourself if you're back in those times, and what it would really be like. And definitely on the first Halloween, especially the second Halloween, where there was a full blood moon, and the hills above your village ran red with blood, and that blood overflowed and was coming through your village. And you were smart enough to stay inside, and the ones that they were not smart enough to stay inside, they either drowned, or in the sacrifice blood, or they were the ones that they were sliced by the witches, or cursed by the witches, or killed by the witches, sacrificed to their gods, and they were sliced by the witches, and it was their blood that was shed, that was flowing through the village, until what you call the All Saints next day. All Saints Day, which was the Passover from the witching hour, that happened within the night before, the first 2 nights before. It is kind of marked in history and that kind of stuff like that too as well. Would you, you were behind the inventing the games, or making tree syrup you collected from during the day, and mud you collected during the day, and you sensed that witching hour, and you turned that mud into what you call chocolate tree syrup, fudge bars. They didn't have chocolate back then, those days. They used whatever nature they had. And they gathered up during the day before nightfall. And that you were part of the first era of Samhain, which is the first Halloween and the second Halloween, where you told ghost tales. You told an actual open fireplace with real logs. To entertain yourself and your family. To keep the mind on what was going on outside. Totally. And all you would hear, and you listen closely, all you would hear would be the screams of the dumb ones, that were not smart enough to go indoors and take cover and protect their families. That's what the real Halloween was about. The first real Halloween that happened. That's what it was about. That was the real Halloween that happened. And for decades or generations, it became what you call, over time, it became legendary. And it became historical. And definitely, but see, like I said, the traditions are just traditions. They're just pleasure, entertainment that was made up in those times to entertain your families. That kind of stuff like that. And if they did have to go out amongst the witches, they would dress up as them, or they would create monster costumes, and they would go out. So the witches would think that they were one of them, and they wouldn't harm them. Indefinitely. They used to have what you call a lot of superstition. superstition back those days that was actually real, that was really amongst people. And today we look at them as legends. Today we look at them as like a ghost gypsy tale and that kind of stuff like that. But it is something I always think about when you're at home. This Halloween night, doing nothing, entertaining your own family that you live with, celebrating in your own way with your own family, your own home, and picture yourself being, if you were around during that era of the first Solomon generation, what would your life would have been like then? Would you be of the smart people, or would you be of the dumb people? It gives you really, really, really at the point to really examine yourself spiritually. Totally. Also being indoors, being, the theory of being indoors and keeping yourself safe. Definitely. Because we all know that Halloween night itself, even Devil's Night, Halloween night itself, for decades, for generations, was never safe. Ever safe. Even before the COVID-19 hit. Halloween was never, ever a safe night. Only what made it safe was the the trick-or-treating traditions that over time that had started the parades to keep it safe. The history of the parties and that to keep it safe. But for decades before those traditions even started, and going back to the first Halloween itself, or the first 3 Halloweens, during those era, during the witches up, during the real Halloweens, Halloween was never ever meant to be safe. In generally, for decades, it was always declared as an unsafe night. Over time of generation, we always made it safe because we started traditions like handing out candy to keep it safe, to keep people safe, parties to keep people safe. Now, up to these times, to COVID-19 pandemic we're in today, and that today, yes, we can safely say, we're going to cancel the trick or treating, we're going to cancel the parties in a safe way to keep people safe from the COVID-19 pandemic and what was been happening all year round during the pandemic is to keep people safe. But over history, according to legend, Halloween was never ever a safe night to begin with. It was a powerful spiritual night of occultism, witchcraft, the dead rising from the grave, coming out of the graves. It carries a very dark sacred history and satanic history itself. Like also too, a couple times I've shared some of my even close encounters from summer camp as a kid about haunted hunter's cabin and the one headless headhunter being a witch. I give you a lot of witch stories this year, witch legends, and definitely. Or the close encounter in Peterborough that had that one Halloween with that police officer witch. With the 2 of them, and the one was a real witch. The other one was the one which was a real police officer. The other one wasn't. And definitely, I shared those close encounters about the haunted property, graveyard, haunted house, witch property on my street. I shared that last night. This is what you guys call the real Halloween. That really took place 1,800 years ago. Definitely. Um, it wasn't really never about the candy. It was really never about the parties. They are just entertainment and tradition to keep people out of trouble. Definitely. So people wouldn't get terrorized. And the costumes were a tradition to keep in generally to keep people safe. So if they appeared or dressed up as their favorite demon, the demons couldn't haunt them. The demons couldn't torture them. Um, they couldn't be victimized by real witches. They couldn't be victimized if they were dressed like a witch or they were dressed as a monster. Um, you know that the real apparitions wouldn't harm them because the costumes were considered a shield of protection spiritually. That's why I said it has all these, and over time, other traditions came along, like horror movies. After that came along, Michael Myers came along, Jason Voorhees came along, Freddy Booger came along, Cougar, sorry, um, Mr. Boogedy came along. Um, they all came along over time, and that kind of stuff like that. Um, into what you call radio and television entertainment. But for decades, how the real first Halloween was never about that stuff that we have today. That's not the real Halloween. The real Halloween reflects back on the first Halloween, on the first witch haunting that ever happened according to history, and sacrificial or witch sacrificing on the first Samhain during the Samhain festival. And it goes back to the full moon 1,800 years ago. Also, reflects on the third Halloween with the real virgin that lit a black flame candle, Wiccan candle, and brought real witches back from the dead. Um, that stuff really happened. It didn't happen in the way that you see Disney um, presents it. It happened as like any aberrational haunting or poltergeist haunting or whatever. Um, and the first red blood moon, new moon, happened on the third Halloween. Happened on the second Halloween. The same Halloween when they sacrificed, human sacrificed, and the hills were in red with blood down through the valley, into the village. And the smart people ran inside. Totally ran inside to keep their families safe. And that's where the traditions of games and parties and stuff that they got during the day. Nobody. I wonder how they even knew that was going to happen. But they prepared themselves. They were always ready and prepared. And they chose to go inside. They didn't have to have the kings or queens tell them to go inside, or the knights to tell them to go inside, or the royal guards had to tell them to go inside. They did it on their own. And then, like I said, the dumb ones got sacrificed, and they were slaughtered by the witches and sacrificed, and their blood was shed, according to legend, for not being so smart, for not taking their families inside, because they didn't believe in that superstition. They didn't believe it was real or capable of happening. They thought they could overpower these witches, that kind of stuff like that. And then they learned the hard way. They couldn't. And then on the fourth, and just after the third Halloween, according to history, that's when the Salem witch trials happened. Definitely, just before the third Halloween, where the Wiccan candle was lit, so the witches can come back. So it happened before the trials happened, a month before the third Halloween hit, from September to the first half of October through the Golden Harvest. Back in those times and decades. I won't share any dates, but according to history books, all has the dates, everything else like that, on how these events occurred. And they really did occur. It didn't happen the way that you see in Hocus Pocus, the Disney movie, in the fantasy way. But the actual history of a virgin lighting a candle, it really happened. Did really happen back those days. During the first 3 years, the first 3 Halloweens, first 4 Halloweens, 4 years of the foundation of Halloween, from the first Halloween, things happened back those days. Things totally happened. That's why I said it's been 1,800 years since we've had a full moon on Halloween night. Definitely. Means we could either have a full moon or we could have a red blood new moon. It can go, the full moon can appear either way. Or it can even appear as the eclipse of the moon. Any which way. And if it appears as the eclipse of the moon, of a full moon, no matter how it is a full moon, new full moon, golden, yellow golden new moon, full moon, or if it is red blood full moon, Halloween will take us back to its traditional first sovereign, Halloween that ever started. Means things could happen on a full moon. Things can happen on a full moon. On Halloween night, when it's a full moon, no matter what type of full moon it is, even if it's a new blood red moon, things spiritually can happen. Real witches can come back and haunt. Vampires can come back and haunt. The dead can literally rise. There could be a zombie apocalypse, like there was 100 years ago. Anything is possible of happening on a full moon. Definitely. There's people that have the capacity or ability to change from human to werewolf on a full moon. No, I haven't been watching too many horror movies. It's written down in history. This really happened at one point. Not, like I said, not the way Hollywood would actually image it. Definitely. Not, especially more so during these COVID times too. So this is why, in a way, I'm so glad to hear that things are canceled, to keep people safe, because we don't know when they say this Halloween's different. We don't know what's yet to come. We don't know what's going to happen this Halloween night. We don't know what's going to happen Halloween night. If things are going to happen like it did 1,800 years ago. And that, so it is a matter of keeping people safe. Totally. We don't know what spiritually can happen. The dead's all of a sudden going to rise from their cemeteries and come out, walking down the street, or there's going to be a zombie apocalypse, or witches are going to return because some virgin idiot is going to go light a candle somewhere, and be a smart ass and bring them back. No, anything is possible on Halloween night. Anything is possible on Halloween night. It is the strongest, powerful night ever. And definitely. For close encounters, for paranormal, supernatural activity. So who's going to be the smart village people, and who's going to be the dumb village people that's going to get he's going to get sacrificed before the witches and their gods, and be bloodshed and cause a blood flow that's going to drown our village, or try to, anyways. So who's going to be the smart villagers who must stay inside this year and do as they're told, or who's going to be the dumb ones and ain't going to do as they're told? That are going to become food for the gods and the witches. that's going to go the witch's way, and the witches are going to do whatever they want to and sacrifice them, humanly sacrifice them. If real witches do appear, is to appear. Those are those are the legend IQ questions that you want to ask yourself while you're staying at home, keeping safe, keeping your family safe. So if you're staying at home, you're keeping your family safe during the trick or treating cancellation, because it is canceled all across Ontario, all across Canada, even across, all around the world. Um, you know, you're being technically, if you listen to that, you're being what they call the smart villagers that chose to stay inside. Um, if you arrogantly try to go out, and of course you're not going to get nothing, and you bang into zombies and witches, real zombies and witches, and they abduct you, then you're classified as the dumb villagers going the witch's way and being sacrificed and being food to their gods. And definitely, and you could be humanly sacrificed by them, and then you're not keeping yourself safe. This is what we call history, guys. This is legends are based on history, on true history that happened at one point. A lot of people are saying, "Oh no, that's not capable of happening." But in the spiritual world, um, in the paranormal, or the supernatural, spiritual world, anything is possible of happening spiritually, indefinitely. That's why I said, guys, Halloween, guys, is a very powerful night, and that it has its dark secrets. A lot of stuff that I shared did happen at one point, and yes, is honestly capable of happening again over time, over history. Even if this is the year that it could happen again. I'm not predicting anything, but yes, even a lot of Christian people will tell you that believe these times can happen. Definitely because they happened before, and that the fact that this year marks the 1800th anniversary from 1800 years ago of the first founding Saw on Halloween, of its witchcraft, sacrificial, everything, right down to every Halloween after that happened, and before what happened before the third Halloween during the witch trials, and definitely today would be all linked to what we call COVID-19 pandemic, on top of the actual virus. So it doesn't always. It's not, it's more than just the virus itself. There is other things that happen, and definitely, and that means everything that ever happened in history starts happening all over again here in 2020. This is what we're seeing. This is what we're experiencing. But yeah, These are the times we live in, guys. Fortunately. And yes, the Christian churches we're in a decade too, that also too on top of all this, the Christian churches are going to be split. Because they wish to continue to not social physical distance. They refuse to wear a mask on their face. They don't believe in covering their faces. Because to them it is a Ku Klux Klan thing. To them it is a racist. It is a symbolization of racism. In what it violates their belief. They are going to like the one minister swearing up and down that he's going to continue to fill his altar with 1,000 or more people. He's not going to comply to rules and regulations. And the Pentecostal or the charismatical, the big churches, not the smaller ones, but the bigger ones are going to be persecuted. They're going to be taken away. They're going to be persecuted. They're going to see persecution. Definitely, they're going to, like he said, they're going to cut their hydro. They're going to cut everything. They're going to shut them off. They're going to shut them down. Definitely. But honestly, if he's supposed to be, like I said, yeah, he might be a real minister, or his beliefs may be real. Now, here's the test. If you're in that persuasion, if you are spiritually led by a God of any kind, and you feel that that God is talking to you, and you believe in that God, whoever your God is, if you are really that, like I know I'm spiritual myself in different ways. If you are really a spiritual person and you really believe in that you're a spiritual person, it is not going to matter if you have hydro or not. That spirituality is going to will shine and flow through you in the darkest places. Meaning, they can shut his power off all they like. And if he's really relying on hydro and power, or his God turns out to be power and hydro needed, then the power of God is not in him. Because if the power of God was really in him, it's not going to matter if he has hydro or not have hydro. Then you can say he's pretty much real. If he can discipline himself on what he's preaching, and if he's supposed to be preaching the real life of God, if he really has, for an example, has God in him, okay, or the power of God in him, it should be real. He shouldn't really have to worry about if he has hydro or he doesn't have hydro. Because if hydro and electricity is his power of God, he's a fake. He's a fraud. Minister, if the real power of God is in him, he won't need hydro. If he's strong enough to witness to people, to be a witness to people, lead people to the light, without electricity, without hydro, then yes, his faith in God is real. Or he is really spiritually led, or he's really spiritually being talked to. But if he has to rely on hydro for everything. Or, you know, or he says for him to lead people to God or whatever, he has to have hydro, or he has to have electric guitars. I'm sorry, there's nothing real about him. Definitely, I can honestly say that. Nah, that's not judging. That's not putting a judgment across. That is the fact truth. That is the fact truth. And definitely, it's like anybody who's spiritual, and that kind of stuff like that, or have any type of spiritual belief. What also, if you really look at what makes witches real, okay, it don't matter, because for centuries, witches practiced their witchcraft without hydro, without light. They used to do it in the dark. They used to do their chants in the dark under candlelight, or by an outdoor campfire. No matter where they went, their spirituality was real. It wasn't like today that everybody relies on hydro or electricity for their faith to flow. Or they say, oh, they have to have hydro for God to move. If they are honestly spiritually led people by God, and God is supposed to be really in them, or whoever the God is really in them, then no matter where they go, in the darkest places, even into places where there is no hydro, there is no light, they should be the same always with their faith. Means their spiritual leading or guidance should be the same. It shouldn't be different. Totally should not be different. Yeah, it's nice. Like I said, yes, we all have today in this generation, we have technology to help us along. Okay, but that's not technology is not the real faith. The real faith is what's inside you spiritually, indefinitely, and what you share spiritually. And I'm only teaching on that. Definitely. You know, there is a lot of spiritual people will go back old school. You know, if we didn't have electricity, you know, that kind of stuff like that, a lot of gypsies, a lot of people that used to, you know, even Wiccans today would go back the old ways, out to the woods and build camps. If we went back into a decade, like, and the Amish people have lived without hydro for years, for generations, and their faith is real because they don't rely on it. Doesn't matter if you live in Texas, doesn't matter if you live in Tennessee, where the hell you live. If you live in a hole in the freaking ground, definitely. You know, if you're trying to win people over, or trying to give them the invitation, if your spiritual faith is real, and you believe that you're led by that spirit, you're led by that spirit with or without hydro. Hydro is nothing. It wasn't. It was nothing back in the early days. Definitely, way before it was even invented. It's just because some asshole invented, like, called Alexander Bell, decides he's gonna invent the fucking telephone. That pisses us all fucking off. And definitely today, it's annoying. Sorry to put it that way. He had to be the jackass that invented the telephone. And Pee Wee Herman invented TV. So, I mean, there's some quotes for you to think on, totally. But yeah, like yeah, every month I had the luxury and privilege. I can say privilege. Like I say, I pay my internet bills every month. I pay my phone bill every month. I pay my satellite bill every month. But when it comes down to faith, your spiritual guidance inside you doesn't need hydro to operate on. Definitely. That's where a lot of these high class, what you call, I know I went to one of those churches when I was a kid, I regretted it. These high class charismatical vineyard ministers are gone retarded in the head. Totally. Because they think, because we're in a decade today where we got access to hydroelectricity, they have to have hydroelectricity to have faith. What's wrong with opening a hymn book like they used to do back in the 1800s and opening your mouth and singing from it? If they're so worried about, being punished because one, the ministers are stupid enough to break social distancing and not wear face coverings in the congregation or pile everybody in. Yes, might be their downfalls. But if they're being threatened to have their hydro cut off, why not pull back out the old hymn books and sing from them? That's where the real spiritual faith and salvation always was. And the Bible. They can get by without, they can go back old pioneer, old school and get by without fancy electronics. Definitely. Just to preach to the congregation. That kind of stuff like that. That's my input or opinion on that. Instead of getting on social media and complaining that their hydro is going to be cut off, let them go back, do what the Baptists do and done for years. Even the Baptists are not even electronically high today, even with this electronics. They stayed the old ways. There's some Baptist churches, small Baptist churches that actually don't believe in electronics. They stayed the old school of the old wooden piano that was made by hand and metal horseshoe keys that they play. And their old hymn books and their old and their Bible in their hand. They never went fancy computer digitalized worship songs or whatever like you see today. Some have, some haven't. Some actually stayed. I know a bunch of churches in the Peterborough area that has stayed old school, had stayed old pioneer, old school. That stayed just like the Amish people did. They stayed their old traditional self. They didn't change. Especially the witchcraft Baptist churches, I call them, that still follow and worship the King James Bible. Going the way of the witch, preaching in witch language. Definitely. But if they figure it's right for them, they figure it's right for them. We can't do much about that. But even though we know what has been printed off that, definitely. That they gripe and complain that they're supposed to be against, but they really aren't. Definitely, if they're following the King James Bible, they'd be before a lot of things you really wouldn't know about, or dark secrets you would not know about, skeletons hitting in their closet. I'll tell you. I know I was raised in a Southern Baptist church on my own. My mom wasn't a church-going person. I went on my own because I used to jump their Sunday school bus, definitely, or the little Sunday school van that used to come around. And definitely, and they stayed the old way. They didn't get very high tech when technology started to change. Even today, they're still staying the old Amish way, and they're not Amish. They're Baptist. They're definitely 100% strict Baptist. I'll tell you, the old wooden piano, not a single soundboard in the church. The old oak wooden piano with the metal horseshoe keys that would have been made in the 1800s. Old wooden pulpit, old wooden baptismal what you call bathtub tank at the back. If they fill up with buckets of water to baptize you in. They didn't change to what way the Pentecostals did, to the big high tech, or to try to keep up with the Joneses, or the high tech technology, or the rock bands with electric guitars, or the Christian rock and roll. Matter of fact, they don't even believe in Christian rock and roll. The little Baptists believe it's of the devil, but yet they're reading the devil's Bible, the King James Bible, because King James himself was the devil. They've forgotten their old history, where they came from. If they look at themselves in the mirror, they'll see that their ancestry is like my grandfather was. They were a KKK. They were a Ku Klux Klan. Is where they birthed from. Things you don't see hidden in their closets, that they don't always, secrets they don't tell you about. Definitely. I'm just so grateful I never entered into signing a declaration into it myself, because I wasn't old enough. Definitely. I stopped going to that church before I became old enough, before they could actually recruit me and send me across the border when they were open. Definitely. Down into the South. I would have never met my wife, definitely. But I'm not saying that I'm not putting down what they believe in or whatever. They have the right. Nowadays they have the right to what religion they want to practice or whatever, even if it's right or wrong. More or less, those are the times we're in today. But that's what I said. But the little churches, the little community churches, or the little Baptist churches, never ever get any more than 3 people going to church, ever, or 4 people. They'll be lucky if they have only end up in the Sunday school classes, they only have like 2 kids or 3 kids at top. 1 kid per class. I remember that's still the same today. They're not like the Salvation Army that gets large crowds of kids, or the Pentecostal churches that gets like 5,000 freaking kids, or teenagers. Talk about large gathering, and that's the gatherings, and that's why the big Pentecostal churches, charismatical churches, or places like the Salvation Army are being shut down during the pandemic, is because they're the ones with all the kids going to their youth activities, and definitely they're more at risk of community virus spread than anything. Than a little tiny little Southern Baptist church that's only got like 2 kids to a Sunday school class and a teacher. 1 kid per class. Definitely. So the smaller operations, no matter if they get more than 10 kids to a class or whatever, they can social distance because with face coverings, because they're small enough, because the little Baptist churches been doing that all along. They've been keeping kids 6 inches or 6 feet away from each other for years, way before this even pandemic even started. Even when I was a kid, it was like that. Definitely. They were practice. I think they were practicing and teaching us for this generation because they knew this generation was coming. Definitely. They must have sensed this was coming. Totally. And we're kind of off of our topic tonight, guys. Sorry, guys. We'll get back to the Ghost Legend soon. The one song that used to drive me nuts was Bringing in the Sheaves. Which originally they changed that one, by the way. They did change that one because originally it was written for their own secret KKK society, which was called Bringing in the Sheets, not the Sheaves. The Sheets means referring to marching in the sheets. That they back those days they used to nickname them the White Sheets. So marching in the sheets is what they used to say when it was first written. That's why I said you guys got to watch those Southern Baptists. I'll tell you, they have a history and they have a dark history. They go way back, especially when their main office is Southern United States. I'll tell you, and not the Quebec of Canada district. Definitely. So now you guys know, you see who the real witches are. Definitely. And that was proven over time. They were never brown or multicultured. They were always, the real witches were always white or Caucasian, that we would call it today. Technically, King James, according to history, was the real witch that was sacrificing people that he was accusing of being witches because he was so rich and powerful. He was covering himself up, according to history. And he wrote books on demonology. That's why I said that guy was so evil. If you ever read his history, definitely. But not trying to scare you away from churches that still believe in following him or following his Bible, but like I was sharing last night, it's just one of those things, just teaching, just be careful on what you could become. And definitely through it all. Or what you could come out to be. Either by choice or not by choice. And definitely. Calm my hair down. So now we're going to get on back to Celtic Gypsy Warriors, Celtic Gypsy Ghost Legends, guys. Totally, if we can. Sometimes we like to do them by narrator. I find them easier by narrator, but I think I've been doing pretty good anyways. Yes, I do apologize, guys. I stutter a bit. It's my disability. I can't help that. I have a bit of a speech. I do honestly have a bit of a speech impediment. But, or sometimes, yes, I stutter and repeat myself. I can't help that. Again, it's just my disability. Just the way I function. Like I said, I'm not quick at functioning or translating to paper. But I go by life experience and remembering what was told to me when I was a kid, that kind of stuff, that based on real life experiences. And stuff that I like studying for a hobby, more or less. Like I like studying stuff. And that, so like I said, I consider myself to be a bit of a theologian too, because I just as a hobby. I don't do this to make money. I don't make money at this kind of stuff. I just volunteer my time. I just enjoy studying stuff on the internet or googling stuff now because we have the technology. But you know, and I have and growing up being spiritual, having a spiritual faith of some kind. You know, um, I personally don't believe that there is any in anybody's spirituality there's ever right or wrong beliefs. No, I can't really, like I said, there's really no such thing as being right or wrong. Um, you know, and nobody's better than anybody else. Nobody's more spiritual than anybody else. Everybody, I believe, is pretty much equal. No matter what you identify yourself as being, um, or what you come out to be, everybody's spiritual. No matter if you're Christian spiritual, no matter if you're atheist spiritual, no matter if you're Wiccan spiritual, no matter if you're ESP spiritual or psychic spiritual. Everybody's different. Everybody is totally different in generally. No matter what tools you use for those spiritual to connect with your spiritual guidance and that kind of stuff, or your inner spiritual self, and that also too, I've shared what I'm going through spiritually too as well, and that spiritual transitioning inside myself too as well. Where it all starts, but again, I'm not going to go into heavy detail about that because there's a lot of bashers out there. Totally, there is a lot of bashers out there, especially during these times, during the COVID-19 times. It is really publicly very hard to explain it. That over time, that there will be over time, yes. Like I said, you always change. Something inside you changes you spiritually first, has to, and then before you actually go through a medical physical change, you always go through the spiritual stuff first. Something spiritually inside you changes you first. But that's the only way I want to put it. And no, guys, it's not preparing for next year's Halloween costume. Don't, no insults on that, please. Definitely. Please show respect, no matter what no matter what I appear, identify myself as. Definitely. Your opinions don't count. There's I know a lot of Newfies that think, Newfoundlanders that think their opinions always count. They don't. Like I always say, zip it, lemony snicket. Definitely. So yeah, the last few nights, guys, we've seen movement around in here. After every session that we did, everything from Haunted Hunter's Cabin, and I explained to you a little bit about Celtic Gypsy Warriors. Now you understand why we keep separate from the Christian Church itself. Yes, we can sit in them amongst them or sit in the services and that kind of stuff. But we won't be welcome because the fact because they know of us and they know that that we have our traditions and we have our spiritual traditions that does not agree with their spiritual beliefs and that kind of stuff like that. So they know that we tell ghost legends and that kind of stuff like that we're a Midnight Secret Society, and uh, based on our affiliation with an actual banded, paranormal, supernatural, haunted, real haunted cabin, or haunted places, or basically that we're into the paranormal or supernatural. They're not, but they don't realize that even Christianity is paranormal, supernatural itself in a way. Um, and if you read the Christian history, you're going to see why. If you watch the true documentaries, how they were founded and how the fact that the Christian Church originated from the occult to begin with, and separated from the darkness and went to the light, and definitely, and how they fit in and being part of the all-seeing eye God that gives them their Christian power, and that which is the Freemasons is the Godhead of the churches. Um, they don't wish to acknowledge that, but that is the main truth. Um, that the true facts about the crucifixion, that happened, that they talk about, or the way they describe it, and it's a good cover up too. And I can understand because they're teaching children. That is understandable. But the real truth about that, and definitely on how it happened, it didn't happen the way they tell you it happened. So that's where some people believe in their congregation that they've been lying all these years. The real crucifixion that happened, they believe that there was a blood specimen that was taken from him. From Christ himself was taken from him. But one of the disciples actually pricked him with something and took blood from him and put it into a chalice and put it somewhere into the Holy Grail. And when the body came down, before the body came down or whatever, before they placed him in the tomb, or what they thought they seen was the resurrection, was actually an apparition that the disciples created. So again, they created some type of witchcraft, of the paranormal and supernatural, and what they saw was a light of his spirit, originally, that came back and appeared to them after he rose. It was his apparition, his ghost of his spirit, that they seen, that they witnessed. The actual body was taken by the Roman guards. Was taken by the Roman guards and was burnt and placed into what you call an ark, a golden ark, a wooden golden ark with golden angel wings on it, and his ashes was placed into into what you call into the temple of Egypt in the pyramids, in one of the pyramids, and was there for decades. That the whole order of the Holy Grail had formed, which was the Knights Templars of the Freemasons, and was guarding, of Israel's, was guarding the remains in the golden that ark and remains. The Nazis found out the hard way during the war days, that when they dug it up, that was all true. They dug it up and it did things. So if you were a good person, or if you were a spiritual person, you did good things or whatever, it would perform you miracles. It would bless you, it would perform miracles. If you were an evil person, the apparition from it, the spirits from it would actually kill you. So it would either be an angel, either an angel would come out of it, or a peaceful God would come out of it, or an evil goddess would come out of it. The devil himself would come out of it. So technically, those ashes were technically either God or Satan or whatever, would come out of it. But technically, it was Christ's body itself that was cremated and placed in the ark. A lot of churches will not tell you that. Um, Again, like I said, there's even my grandfather shared this story with me when I was a kid, and I never understood it. That they sat on for hundreds of years, definitely. And the churches, when they do their Good Friday services or their communion, they're just all they're remembering is the crucifixion and the resurrection. They don't really tell you how it really happened, indefinitely. They refuse to. They cover it all up, definitely. And the blood that was taken from him was put in was also placed. The chalice was placed in one of the churches around. Was placed in one of the churches in one of these countries. And it's been sitting in their it's been sitting in their church or in their catacombs. It'd have to be a Catholic church that it's sitting in, if it is in a catacomb. But it is in the wall in a catacomb in one of the Catholic churches in the world today. It's been sitting there for ancient times. But what the disciples actually originally witnessed was an apparition of him, was the ghost or spirit figment of him, which was declared as being the Trinity of the Holy Spirit, and definitely was the physical Holy Spirit, and definitely that had left his body. It wasn't his full flesh body; it was his spirit. A lot of people don't understand that. That was an apparition. Basically, that they believe that Christianity, yes, is 100% of the paranormal supernatural, and a lot of churches don't want to admit that. Totally. They keep it all hush hush, definitely, or they keep the truth all hush 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 up about. But yet they have to, because if again, like if they're teaching the scriptures to kids, they have to hide. They have to cover up that part of it, which is understandable. Because they don't want to scare the kids. That I can understand. But indefinitely, in another way, technically defeating the congregation a lie, totally. If they're saying, "Oh, it was his body, it was his flesh they seen," no, it was an apparition. It was a spirit, because the act of witchcraft was actually, or sacrifice, was made. During his death on the cross, one of the disciples actually drained blood from him, and put it into a chalice, and hid it very well in their village church, which is today has probably been bounced around from Catholic Church to Catholic Church. Went to the Vatican and then came from Israel, go to the Vatican. Or either it's sitting in one of the Catholic Church, or it may actually be sitting in the Jewish synagogue today, and they're sitting on it and they're keeping it well covered, definitely, and to the point that nobody ever can get it. All the other churches can never ever get at it. It is well guarded, and well secured, with actual nightmen of the Freemasons that is really guarding it with army weaponry guard. Rifle guards that are guarding it, that will kill anybody that tries to get at it, or go looking for it. And around it they built the Holy Grail. That is all true. That is technically that they believe is actually what is armed and booby trapped. That is well got it well protected. Nobody can ever enter into it, and they have other chalices around it to camouflage it in behind other chalices, of copper, silver, different gold, wood of carpentry, all proven history. Totally all proven history, definitely. But yeah, again, for the type of group we are, we don't really want to share that, but that is based on real truth, definitely, or history. indefinitely. So it's either, like I said today, it would be either actually well guarded by a Jewish synagogue church, or or the Knights of Columbus be sitting on it, some type of masonry group, or the Freemasons themselves could be sitting on it in one of their halls, and you wouldn't know it. In the world, even it could be here in Canada, it could be in the States, it could even be over in the Holy Land itself. Could be sitting on it, and you wouldn't know it. But they've got it well guarded and well protected, and they have for decades, indefinitely. Um, they've got it well bodyguard, secured, everything, totally. Same with the Ark, with Christ's ashes in it. That is capable of doing a lot of things, if it wants to. It can do evil things. Technically, out of his ashes, the devil can rise from it. A demon can come out of it. An angel of life can come out of it. A peaceful angel can come out of it. A demon angel can come out of it. The angel of death can even come out of it. It's that powerful and alienistic. Totally. That's why I said that, like I know my grandfather told me these stories, and when I was a kid, I never understood them. And he said even the Nazis, Hitler himself, learned the hard way. Trying to get at it, and he couldn't even get at it. And when he did get at it, and they opened it up, that was all true history. That really happened. So many thousand Nazis died from the apparition that came out of Christ's ashes. That part of Indiana Jones, yes, that was taken from true events, but again, wouldn't have happened in the way that Hollywood projects it in. It would have happened differently, definitely. Movies only go by with what they believe and think how it happened, more or less, when they make a movie out of it, but for entertainment. But back in those real times, or the war times, it would have probably happened totally different. But yeah, it's like any legend. Excuse me, it's like any legend. It really happened. Again, it kind of proves right there the existence of the paranormal and the supernatural, indefinitely. If you look back into Area 51, now that is a very touchy topic. It happened years ago, and then it happened again in 2001. Between 2000 and 2002, it happened again, and then it happened just recently again. It was 2004 or 2005. No, maybe after that. Then it happened in 2004, 2005. Then it happened again just in 2007, 2008, just before we came into this COVID-19 pandemic, before it hit. So it goes to prove by examples that yes, the supernatural, paranormal does exist. It is capable of happening. A lot of people doesn't think, oh, it's not capable of happening. It is capable of happening. Some proven points. Definitely, beyond tomorrow night too as well. Sorry we couldn't get into any chess games or whatever. If I'm not so tired, we'll try for Devil's Night and Halloween Night for spiritual communications. Considering I don't have too many Bloody Brewskis and I'm having too much fun. Celebrating from at home, from outside of my own living room. Definitely. In my own living room here. And that kind of stuff like that. Some of these are kind of cool gypsy tales, guys. Totally. Well, I can't say tales, but legends. Today that we would see as campfire legends. that would have happened one time before. That has happened before at one time, but today, like I said, they're all they're what you call good campfire legends today. That's told about many campfires. Definitely like that. Um, Man, I could write a book. Definitely. I could sit here. I could go back. Um, Even to my camp experience from when I was a kid. I could put a legend together, no problem. Um, you know, um, but what I shared about Alexander Avenue Street, about that haunted house, that witch close encounter that we had when we were kids. Basically, I can make it. I can make a good horse story out of all this stuff, especially even what my sister told me too as well. I could actually make a good horse story out of it. Now, sometimes I think I was sleeping last night. The weirdest thing happened. Um, a word hit me that was familiar. Okay, now in Haunted Hunter's Cabin, when the apparitions haunted the campers and came back in the times in 1814, when they really haunted, they came back looking for their heads or whatever. They were chopping off campers' heads and that kind of stuff like that. And the double-edged axe was floating all over the place. They would whisper stuff like, "I'll get you too." Now another word came to me that relates to that, which yes, diverses any definition to that is, "We're coming for you." So this witch man that my sister talked about, that my older brother seen, that I shared last night about, um, appears, reappears, disappears. And no matter how old we get, she said he's always going to come back and torment or haunt my dad's kids, no matter how old we get. Definitely. And she had told me to be careful. And definitely, maybe he's doing the same thing that he did to my sister. He revealed himself to her after what happened to my older brother in 1975, 76. And definitely, I wasn't born yet. Would have been my older brother, but in North Bay. But relating, like I said, incidents to going back to what I shared too about the man figment that showed up when we were camping on my dad's uncle's property on the St. Lawrence River when I had the visitation rights with him, that stuck his finger in the tent, played with a zipper, stuck his finger in the tent. Those kids scared the crap out of me. I think it links to this witch dude that keeps coming back. Definitely. Now, I don't know if this is the same one that I close encountered with in 1989, 1990. I'm linking it together now. If this is the same apparition of the Headless Headhunters, and the one is a witch of Haunted Hunter's Cabin, if this is the same witch guy that took my older brother before I was born, that my sister talks about. but then I ended up going to this community camp outside of Peterborough, and all of a sudden the story is told of Haunted Hunter's Cabin, and these two headless headhunters, twin headless headhunters that became headless headhunters, and the one having witch abilities and was a witch. If this is the same guy that appears, disappears, and reappears and disappears, totally. Now, when I moved here, that kind of stuff like that, when I moved out here, funny thing was, there was also, oh, I hate this popping in and out crap. Okay. Thing is, just advertisements. Sorry about that. Thing is, when I became a member of the Optimist Club, I met a lady. Well, we're just friends. Like she's secretary or whatever of the club. I was just a member. And my mom never lived here. I always lived with my mom in Peterborough growing up as a kid. But this Karen lady here, not the Karen she knew there. The Karen she was friends with down in Peterborough passed away just before my mom did. But when my mom passed away and I got the news, there was this one lady here that belongs to the Optimist Club. She is the secretary, and she knew my mom very well. I don't know how. And she knew she lived in Peterborough. But this Karen lady, I don't think was from Peterborough. I think this Karen lady was originally, she said she was from North Bay, but she knew my mom before I was born. That maybe she was the same lady that lived on the same lake that my dad and my mom lived on, that my older brother supposedly went with this ghost man or whatever. This apparition happened. Well, to her, she didn't know about any apparition that my sister was sharing with me or whatever. When the drowning incident happened, that my mom always told me about when she was alive, and my older sister, when I got old enough, was telling me about. But the way my sister was telling me, it was like she was saying that he swore he seen this man in the window. The stranger, well, to him, stranger. Now she says she never seen him, but then she's able to describe what the man looked like in the window. This man that was dressed in very dark clothing, and definitely. And how would she know that he appears, reappears, and disappears? So she probably really did see him, but was too scared to admit that she seen him. Because she even said that my older brother was the only one that seen him. Definitely. That he went with. About my older brother, he ended up. He died at the age of 6 after seeing this man. This is what gets me. Totally what gets me. Like, this is what they call paranormal supernatural shindig. Definitely. Because how many adults, even if they were going to do something stupid like that, well, how many adults would leave 6-year-old kids him and his friends, in a boat by themselves, and get out when there's no gravel to get out on in the middle of the lake. You can't walk across water. So how and the man and out in the middle of 100 feet out on the water, all of a sudden he disappeared. This man disappears. Spooky shit. Totally spooky shit. Definitely. I was shocked when she told me this. She told this to me in front of my own mother a couple times when I was a kid, and then as I got older and after I met my wife, and I took my wife to Peterborough, and my mom was telling me in front of my wife here when I met her here, and I took her there. My sister then mentioned this too in front of me. I'm like, yeah, after all these years, now you come out with this. Definitely. Maybe because she figured I was always too young to understand it or whatever. She was afraid of it because when I was going to the nightmare episode of Camp Northern Lights with the Close Encounter of Haunted Hunter's Cabin and its apparitions, she probably didn't want to scare me too much over it, which makes sense totally. But I don't know if this is the same apparition or a different one that I experienced at 9 years of age at Camp Northern Lights in 1989 or 1990 of the two Headless Headhunters. If he's this magical, and she did describe he must have been a witch or some type of that. Again, another close encounter of a witch. I don't know what's with me and witches. Close encountering them, I tell you. I must have a thing for witches. Man, I should have married a witch. Definitely people would be so scared shitless they wouldn't have to worry about them being scared of COVID-19 now, would they? They'd definitely be staying 6 feet away if I was married to a witch. Definitely. I don't know what my life would be like, though. Honestly, before we get back on this stuff, I don't know what my life would be like if I was actually married to a witch. Definitely. Honestly, I couldn't picture myself. What would my life be like? Would they be anything like her? Would they be different? Don't know. Would they be the same? Don't know. Can never tell. Totally. I know. I know. There's a couple times I've Googling, trying to search now since we got technology and computer algorithm gets confused because if you write in you're searching up history on witches, it shows you photos of a bunch of bitches. Not witches. It translates the word from witch to bitch. And you get all these pretty pictures of all these pretty women. And instead of saying photos of witches, it actually translates itself in the corner and says bitches. It replaces the W with a B. The computer does that to me all the time. I don't know why. And you don't get what you're looking for. Oh, yeah, they really look like witches, do they? No. They're too pretty looking. Definitely. And the computer doesn't understand English. Because the word actually witch is Norwegian for bitch. I really didn't know that. So technically the word witch is really not a word. It is a pronoun. It's a cleaner pronoun for addressing a female as a bitch by calling them a witch. So you don't get your ass whooped, or they don't open a can of whoop ass. Definitely kick your ass. It's funny. It's funny what you research. I'm live.
Yeah.
Um, it is. That's kind of weird, but eventually, yes. Eventually, I do get. The only time I ever get anything on witches is this time of year, around Halloween time. Other than that, any other time of year, if I'm trying to research the history of witches, I don't get anything. Don't get anything at all. Because the computer thinks I'm asking it for history of bitches. They must be keeping that well secure. They were keeping that well hidden. A word. Definitely. That's why I said it was always so weird. But yeah, going back to the spooky guy, my sister was telling me about or whatever. I don't know if it. Excuse me. I don't know if he's the same apparition from Haunted Hunter's Cabin in Bob Cage and Halliburton that I close encountered from the Legend of Haunted Hunter's Cabin. The two headless headhunters and the one can appear as anything, as a witch, anything. That my sister was telling me about that relates back to 1975, 1976, before I was born or whatever. And then I end up spiritually close encountering these things in 1989, 1990. That's kind of funny. It kind of fits. Because she said this guy appears. This guy, he appears, he disappears, he reappears, and then he disappears again. Or when something happens to a relative in the family or whatever, this guy appears. He does. And then he disappears again. He's there for 5 seconds and then he disappears. And nobody sees him walk. Nobody ever sees him walk out. No doors or nothing. Nobody passes him coming in and out. He just spiritually comes and goes. Like he's some type of witch or some type of magician. That is the freaky part. That I would like I said, just the spiritual end of this. I like to learn how they do this. Or is it illusion? Is the paranormal, supernatural close encounter real? Or is he spiritually rigged himself? You know, an old circus trick. You know, we don't know. We don't know if he's a real living human being or not. She thinks he's a witch, or warlock, would be a male witch. My cousins thinks he's an alien, or extraterrestrial. And the funny thing is, the guy doesn't drive. Or he doesn't show any signs of pulling up in a car. Now, if he's a witch, he can appear up. He could probably appear as anything or in anything. But I wouldn't encourage it. This what freaks us. This what freaks out our family totally. Totally freaks out our family. Because she was the one that told me when my mom died that this guy showed up. Now, how did she specifically know it was this guy that she talks about? And she said she never seen him. Only my older brother seen him. But then she told me, she said after a year after the incident, that this guy spiritually revealed himself to her. So maybe somehow, how many witches or ghosts would sit there and tell, or would spiritually say that they're the angel of death, they're a witch, they're a magician, whatever. Or like he tried to say, he was sent by God. If he's doing evil shit like that, ain't no way he's sent by God. He's sent by the wrong God, I'll tell you. Anything. If he's that creepy and freaky, the way she describes him, definitely. That ain't no angel of Christ, I'll tell you. That's a hell's angel. That's the way I put it. But yeah, I know I shouldn't joke like that. I don't want to offend anybody who's actually. They're probably sitting back getting a good laugh out of this. Definitely. The motorcycle club probably would be sitting back watching us laugh their asses off by now, drink the beer laughing their bloody arses off, pissing their pants laughing. Definitely. But you know, a bit of an example there for you. Sorry to turn that into a joke, but I have my theories, and if I was going to put this into a ghost legend, I'd tell you, I think I'm doing a good job, anyways. Definitely, I would. Now, I maybe this. No, I personally, so far haven't experienced it. Maybe I did at this camp. I didn't realize it. With this hunter's cabin, I think this is the real witch. That is the real is one of the headless headhunters, changing himself. That I revealed that revealed himself in that way, like they reveal in different ways in 1989, 1990. That had close encountered. Maybe this is the same dude that appears and reappears and disappears. But he's got a sick way of doing it. If I was a ghost, I wouldn't be that. Definitely, if I was in his spiritual shoes, or if I was that powerful of a witch, I wouldn't be doing things that sick way. I'll tell you, popping in and out. My sister does enough that, and she's a living human being. And at times she actually does scare the shit out of me. I can honestly say that, because all she does is pop up out of nowhere. If she's jumping off the walls from somewhere, or she pops in, then she pops out. And then she spooks the hell out of me. Totally. I know it's not nice to say that about your own older sister, but theory. Theologically speaking, in general. Now she shared also a little bit of this on a little bit on this on Facebook Messenger. Out of all places. Oh, out of all places to share something like that. Totally. No, one time she has shared it before to me in front of my mom. When my wife met my mom before my mom passed away, she had mentioned this to me as well. So, like I said, is Keep it down, please. I can hear you through the frickin' door. Shit, you're loud enough to wake the friggin' dead. We don't have to worry about them waking up on their own. But yeah, like that was spooky. So I think he ties. There's the same apparitions. I had close encounter with Hunter's Cabin with the two headless headhunters. That, but he appears differently at different times. And now she shares this with me. I'm kind of linking it two and two. This might have been the same guy, the same man that my older brother seen before he died, before I was born. Because she said it was so spooky because she said she was telling me that this guy had walked right in. She said I would have been scared shitless if I was there to see that. But she said this guy walked right into my mom's funeral, totally. And he stood at the back and he was staring at her, at my sister. She said it was creepy. And then she turned her head and he was gone. But yet nobody ever passed him walking into the place. And the people that were setting up to be, usually at the front, before she was cremated, took her away to be cremated. Nobody passed anybody in the hallways or the doors. They didn't see him. Nobody seen him go out. Nobody actually seen him walk out the doors or nothing. They don't know where he came from. They said he was. I asked my sister. I said, "Well, was it my mom's friend that would go? My mom's brother's friend that would go visit her. This guy, a rich guy with a Cadillac." And she said, "No, it wasn't him. It wasn't him." But I said, other than that, I said to her, she just said she didn't know that any other person. I don't. She was scared because she was saying, she said she wasn't sure if he was there to give his condolence or if he was there to commit witchcraft, and what his purpose would be in there. But it's funny because she said that nobody else seen him. She's the only one that's seen him. But well, if I had been there, how would I have been able to see him? But I don't know if anybody else that was there seen this guy. If they remember what he looked like, or if they had seen him, that kind of stuff. But they said they never. She said she never seen him before. The others didn't say. They kept quiet. Like my other cousins, they kept quiet. they did spiritually see the same guy she's seen. I'm glad I didn't make it down there. I'll tell you, it would have actually, it hit me a bit when I heard about it. But if I had been down there, it would have actually hit me harder. But no, like I said, it's my sister said there was something about this guy, and then all of a sudden, she was saying when she was staying, cleaning out the apartment, she was staying at the apartment after my mom died. I was sharing that yesterday. She said she heard swearing spiritually from the front living room, and she swore it sounded like her mom. Spirit. There was a lot of weird stuff that she said mentioned to me, anyways, about that funeral. A lot of weird stuff went on. There's a lot of weird spiritual stuff happened. She doesn't know what the cause of it was. That would cause the spiritual manifestations to happen. Or why the stranger was even there. She won't tell me. She doesn't even know herself. She's never seen the guy before. Definitely. She says she never seen the guy before, but then she says it's the same guy that supposedly my older brother seen when he died, before he died, that he followed. This witch guy or whatever. I like said to my sister, I said, how do you know he was a witch? Does these ghosts go around telling you every day that they're witches? That'd be funny if they did, but I don't think they do. Even real live human witches don't even go around telling you if they're a witch or not. Like, man, they keep that shit to themselves. I find it curious. I'm just basically only interested in I'm just basically interested in the spiritual and the things that happened, more or less, after she died. I'm not. I know I can't. I know that we'll never know what the cause of death was, or how she died, or how the Huntington's disease took her, but that kind of stuff like that. But all we know, it did take her. But all I'm worried about, all I'm just interested in, is just the spiritual sightings my sister was seeing, her well-being at her bedside or whatever, when she died or whatever. After she died, it went in front of her. And after that, the spiritual apparitions that she's seen. One, that this apparition of the stranger guy that showed up at my mom's funeral. That's all I'm interested in. And what his purpose was being there for. It's all a curiosity me, but it's probably going to be one of those supernatural, paranormal, urban unknown mystery, or unsolved mystery, they would call it. Again, guys, that's if you look at it for an example, that's what they call a paranormal close encounter, paranormal supernatural activity or sighting. Means we never know. Basically, the guy is technically anonymous. He's alienistic, um, repetitional alien, some type of ghost apparition of some kind. Definitely, or it would have to be a witch or warlock or even a vampire. She never knows what the guy's purpose was actually being there for. Definitely. If he was there giving condolences or if he was there for the commitment witchcraft. And trying to get parts from her so he can perform witchcraft. Nobody knows where this guy came from. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else that was there seen this guy. But she talked about him totally. She said it was scary. It was freaky. She said even my mom's friend was there, Kathy, and she freaked out. She was at my mom's funeral and she freaked out so badly they had to take her out of the room. Just because this man showed up. And had to freak her out. I don't know if maybe she's seen him because she's Dutch. She's open to seeing stuff spiritually. Just like my sister's saying. Now that's why I said I don't know if it is just there between the two of those ladies, if it is between my sister and this other woman that was my mom's friend. It's just, I can't say if it is their schizophrenia kicking in or if it is an actual something of the paranormal or supernatural they were witnessing or seeing. Can't really blame their mental health on something that's paranormal or supernatural because we do believe it exists. So, there's proven evidence that the paranormal supernatural has proven science has proven and evolution has proven that the paranormal and supernatural is capable of happening and does exist. Totally. Ooh. Scary thing to actually to share and to pinpoint. I know my cousin in Montreal. I don't hear from him a lot either because he's busy working. But he's on Facebook. But he's got a picture. For some reason he's got a picture of a monkey on his profile picture. I don't know if anybody's pre-warned him that you're not to post a picture of a monkey. It was your profile picture because somebody could if you post a picture of a monkey on your anything like an ape, a monkey, or a gorilla on your Facebook page. If you post a picture of anything that identifies as a monkey, a gorilla, or an ape, anything of the monkey sector, people will accuse you of being something you're not. Um, Definitely is to be careful. But my head is feeling dizzy today. Feeling tired for some reason tonight. Yeah, I was sitting back today and I was just watching some Halloween movies on Netflix. Made up another stuffed spooky stuffed person back there. I gotta make up another one. I do not know where I'm gonna put that one. I tell you, I've got so much room in here behind me. That nun is moving. She's freaking me out. Indefinitely. Oh, there's that fly. So there is a good. We kind of had a bit of a start off tonight. Again, guys, it was a little rusty, slow tonight. Try to do stuff with that without the narrator tonight, guys. That kind of stuff like that. Well, we'll do more of that too as well as we get closer to Devil's Night and Halloween Night, guys. And definitely, so feel guys are going to be stuck at home anyways. Get comfortable. You guys will feel free to tune on in. Um, I'll be live um, from my living room here with a haunted house like I do every year. That kind of stuff like that. Just me, myself, and I, and my dog, and sometimes you might see my wife walking back and forth. No, who's ever walking behind me right now is not my wife. Definitely. I seen shadow movement. See, I'm hearing a lot of clicking. In the kitchen. digital fireplace going. This Sunday, I'll be late coming on, that kind of stuff like that. But then we have October 30th, 31st to go. And then we're getting into the Christmas season. Definitely. So anyhow, thank you guys so much for tuning on in. We're gonna cut it short tonight. As I can remember, I go by legend experiences that were told to me when I was a kid too, and what family has shared with me. More or less over the years. That's what makes it good and spooky. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning on in, and hope you guys have a wonderful night. And I'll be back with you guys tomorrow night. And guys, hopefully, like I said, October 30th and 31st, guys, it's just going to be me on here. So we're going to have Bloody Brewskis live. We'll try to get to the spiritual connection, the community, spiritual connections. But if we don't, and we end up just having Bloody Brewski nights, those 2 nights, we go into like we're doing now, like more Ghost Legends, then that's good. But everything will be set up. Definitely be set up. Especially with the 30th and the 31st with the haunted house. Because what I have out, I recommend that the little chihuahua stays in the other room with my wife, and I only take her out when she has to go out, that kind of stuff like that. But not running loose while this thing is out. Replicancy is out because it, we don't know how powerful it really is. So, thank you guys so much for tuning on in, and have an awesome night, guys.